Hey everybody, Tony D and Little Joan here with a hot take. I have a little more intel. Some of my friends who were at the rally called in and talked about some of the stuff they witnessed. They said it was pretty crazy. Chaos, people climbing all over the Capitol, going inside, people smoking pot in Pelosi's office, and doing all sorts of crazy things. There seems to be a lot of controversy on Twitter about it, whether or not certain of the protesters were actual Trump supporters or were they Antifa. One guy has been identified as some sort of white supremacist. There's a lot of confusion. It's going to be a while before they pick this apart. The mainstream media, of course, will just smear them all as Trump supporters. I'm sure some of them weren't, but a lot of them were. A lot of them were definitely Trump supporters because they're just furious. They really thought the QAnon stuff was real, a lot of them, or some of them anyway, and when it didn't happen, people just snapped. Now, Trump's supposed to address the nation at 9 p.m. If he's finally going to reveal all that magic stuff from QAnon, I would think that would be the time. They're calling for his impeachment. The members of the squad are drafting impeachment articles again. Pence is tweeting, "The violence and destruction taking place at the U.S. Capitol must stop and must stop now. Anyone involved must respect law enforcement officers and immediately leave the building. Then peaceful protest is the right of every American, but this attack on our Capitol will not be tolerated, and those involved will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law." I don't know if he really took that hard of a stance on, say, the Portland protesters, but, Pence is pretty much done in the eyes of the Trump supporters anyway, so it doesn't really matter what he says at this point. You could see some of the wackiness going on. The guy with the horns standing in the middle of Congress there. Biden, of course. Joe Biden demands Trump end supporters god-awful display on Capitol Hill. And you can see he's making his old man face. This is another thing. This is giving Biden all sorts of ammo. Now he finally has something to talk about. Now he can talk about how awful Trump supporters are. Police secure U.S. Capitol after deadly siege by pro-Trump protesters. I'm surprised at that kind of headline from Just the News. It's a bit hyperbolic. It kind of implies the pro-Trump protesters were the deadly ones. My understanding is she got the woman who was shot and I think killed was shot by a police officer. But House to reconvene tonight. And that's also repeated by the Epoch Times. Pelosi, House will proceed with electoral certification after it's cleared by police. Yeah, it's funny. Nobody wanted to say to count the votes in all these swing states. They were too tired to count the votes and stay all night. Even in Georgia, a second time. But, when they want to, suddenly they'll stay all night if they have to count a vote. I hope at least the Republicans who are going to protest this thing get to make their case. Maybe we'll still get Ted Cruz's vote audit, but I doubt it at this point. And this is why this is really a shame. I am officially joining the Republican Party, says Georgia Democrat Vernon Jones, announces he is leaving the party. Here was another game. And look, I know, I talking to Trump supporters, they're livid, they're furious, they're like, we're never going to have a free and fair election again. Even though the election we had was the most honest and fair and secure election ever, honk, honk, wink, wink. That might be true, but we don't know. We don't know. As I've said, I think a lot of the incredibly secure election antics were the result of people just doing stuff on their own. You didn't have to bribe them. They've been radicalized to hate Trump. And I think that's mostly on the media. Mostly on the media. So with Trump's following, he could take over media if he has to. Unless 9 o'clock he addresses the nation and something amazing happens. I don't know. I hope this isn't an apology. But at this point, I don't know anything anymore. I'm sort of mentally exhausted from this entire endeavor. If Pence has dumped him, who's left? I just don't know. Who's left to help Trump? Who's even going to listen to his instructions now? Is there anybody in the army left that's going to do what he says? I don't know. He could have guys still within his own inner circle that are ready to, oh God, I got to jump ship and save my career or whatever. I mean, we've had so many people do that over the course of 4 years. I want to believe that at 9 o'clock he's going to tell us, okay, I got all these guys. I got them. And they're all being arrested. But I don't know. I think, we could just maybe rebuild the GOP under the Trump version of it, or just start a new party and destroy the GOP. But either way, I think that's better than trying to kill each other to take the Capitol back or whatever. I don't think it could work, but some say it can. I don't see it. I think you'd have to kill far too many people, and you would, eventually bring in the army, who would put down everybody in order to regain control. Once the army was set loose to occupy, I mean, how did that go the last time? It did not go well. It did not go well. No. I don't blame Trump for a lot of this, because the Democrats, they just had to give Trump supporters their due. Give them their day in court. Give them a fair recount. Give them a fair hearing. But they wouldn't. They wouldn't risk it. And SCOTUS in particular, I still say that was our best shot. That the members of SCOTUS folded, those guys will go down. They'll live to regret that. They will. Because they're going to at least attempt to pack the court with 4 more justices. And then their votes will be meaningless. They'll continue to collect their pay and, speak at colleges and live good, comfortable lives. But, no one will really appreciate them anymore as they write their missives against stringent gun control, I suppose. But I don't know. A lot can happen in 2 years, 4 years. Politics is just crazy, and Trump made it very crazy. But I don't think he's out of this yet. I don't know what he's going to say at 9, but I'm going to watch. Patriots, it's a dark day, but there's no reason to give up. There's no reason to just throw in the towel and say, that's it, that's over. We've had the most secure election in history, honk honk, wink wink, but we may have had many secure elections in history, if you know what I'm saying. JFK famously had the most secure election in history, honk honk, wink wink, and some other guys too. So maybe this is just part of the process. Maybe Trump was an aberration who got in and did some good stuff, and that's all you can expect. And then you go right back into corrupted slide and just hope that the stuff Trump did slows the whole process down. And I think the Capitol protest at least made an impact on these people. I think they're at least going to slow their roll for the Great Reset. At the very least, they might, maybe we ought to wait a few more years on this thing. But we'll see. It's just nuts. I mean, the stuff coming out of the Capitol, and they're still there. There's still quite a few Trump supporters there. So I hope Trump has some magic words to soothe them or tell them something. Because this is nuts.